Hey guys, welcome back to another Friday episode of the Average Money Podcast, where Brad and I sit down and answer your questions. If you guys want to get featured on the Average Money Podcast, there is a link down below in the show notes. Also over at the Discord, where you guys can sign up to be a loyal supporter of the Average Money Podcast. And as always, my name is JJ, and I am joined today, as always, with the one, the only Brad Finn. Brad, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I think it's also worth noting that when we do these intros, I've heard all of the voicemails, but I do not know which one you want to roll with. So I'm kind of excited to hear what you have to say tonight.
It's a good one. I do know with this, just from knowing like your background and my background, we do things a little different, but the listeners will find out in the podcast. So with that being said, let's roll into the question. Today's question or voicemail does come from Frank Mullicrick. Sorry, Frank.
Is it
It is.
The 19-year-old?
Yeah. So Frank's a big loyal listener to us, and
we were mad when we listened to this the first time because we were hoping that he would leave and pronounce his last name, but he just says, "Hey, what's up? It's Frank, right?"
Yes.
So we still don't even, the mystery continues. We don't even know what his last name is.
So, Mullicrick. Frank, here you go, buddy.
Hey guys, this is Frank here. I just wanted to ask you how you guys save money for some larger purchase, like a real estate or house purchase, or if you're going to go buy a car or something like that. Just because with interest rates just so low recently, it just seems like I'm losing money doing that. And it just doesn't seem like the smartest thing for me. I mean, I definitely have an emergency fund and some savings for backup, of course, but I just feel like if I try to save a bunch of money for some bigger purchase, then I'm just going to be wasting it and losing it. And especially since my income is kind of lower since I'm young, it's going to take me a while to save up for something larger like a car or a house. Just wondering what your thoughts are. I would be inclined to invest it, but I don't know if you guys would think that would be too risky. So just would like to hear what you have to say about that. Thank you guys so much.
If you're watching on YouTube, we do have the YouTube channel with all the video you saw. I started jotting stuff down. There was stuff that I heard this time that I didn't hear last time when I first heard it. And I'm going to go through and exactly, I think I can give my perspective, and then JJ can kind of jump on top because like he mentioned, we do kind of have similar, but very, very different approaches to how we handle our savings. So first, speaking from personal experience, and then I'll give some opinions on top of that. To answer your first question, I save all my money in Capital One. I have a Capital One money market account. I think they call it now the 360 account. And the reason I like it is I can set up as much as, I think, 12 different accounts under the same login. I am what you'd call the sinking fund type of person, where my general checking account is my inbox, or Mate CD says it, and I will teach you to be rich. You take your checking account, that's your like inbox of your email, and then money gets sprayed all over the place wherever it needs to go. I am a guy that likes to have sinking funds and likes to designate money into certain spots. So when I get paid every Friday, I have a certain amount of money go towards my summer fund because I'm a teacher and I usually spend more money over the summer. So I want a little extra money. So I put a couple dollars in there. Christmas, I save for Christmas the whole year. When you save for Christmas the whole year, all you have to take out is $25, $50 a month. So I save for that. Property taxes, because I don't do escrow. Another big sinking fund I have is my YouTube taxes and my side taxes and things like that I don't pay up front. I have wedding funds. I'm in that age where a lot of my friends are getting married and there's been a lot of weddings. So I have just like a wedding fund just in case things shoot out. I have a house fund. We call that Ish Happens. All these different things that we have that money goes towards. And I like to separate a lump sum of savings into those particular things. And one thing that I want to reiterate, or not reiterate, but drive home to me, savings are not investments. So it doesn't really matter what the interest rate is. When I started my personal finance journey, it was in the world where like when Capital One and Ally and all these banks were fighting for the highest money market interest rates ever. So I kind of got to see that, and it was a little discouraging when it did go down, but I know now that savings are not investments. So who cares? We're going to watch videos, savers are losers. Your cash is losing money. Well, if that cash was designed to be an investment, then yes. But if your cash is designed for savings, for things that are going to come up in the future, like big purchases, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. And then people would say, okay, well, why don't we just invest some of that? We can, it's very simple to say, we can go back to last January, 1 year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago when this video comes out, but people that thought they were flying high and their investments could never lose, and then 2 months later, they were in the whole 30%. So I'd rather take a lower percentage on my like savings and my sinking funds and know that my worst case scenario is zero as opposed to losing it on investments. Because if I'm saving for a car, a wedding, a house, a kid, I don't want that day to come and it happens to be a down day in the market. So I don't worry too much about that. As far as emergency funds, kind of the same thing. Emergency funds are also not investments. I do put some of my emergency fund in my Roth IRA, and we've talked about that in previous episodes, and that's like my last case resort. So maybe you can get to there if it fits your own situation. But we need to separate 100%, in my opinion, what are your emergency funds, what are your savings, and what are your investments. And if your investment is in a savings account, yeah, you're doing crappy. But if your savings is in a savings account and it's designed for things that you know you're going to need in the future, that you'll have the money for, guaranteed, and you don't have to go into debt, you win. Okay? We can take everything else aside and think about the differences then. Like if you have money to invest, you said you have a small income, that's fine. You need to understand that I don't think anybody's life, when we talked about this in another call that we had with Trevor Hassel, it was like, if you're young, you still have a lot of time to screw up, but you also have a lot of time to fix it. And I wouldn't overanalyze things, Frank. I wouldn't live in the spreadsheet so much, and having a relationship with you through this social media network, and you're a big subscriber and a supporter of my channel. I know JJ's as well. The things you're doing, bud, are good, but don't separate like I'm losing a percent here and there, and I'm losing a little bit of efficiency here and there. Know that Frank one day is going to want to buy a house. Know that Frank one day is going to want to buy a new car. Maybe propose to a man or woman. You're going to want to do these things. You're going to want to, like, you're going to need money for things. Put those into a sinking account. And for me, I like to separate them into different things. Like if I was 19, I'd have my first house fund, and I'd be putting a certain amount of my pay every single month. If I wasn't getting paid, when I did get paid, I would. You know, I would have these certain things like brand new car fund or wedding ring fund or wedding fund or honeymoon. I would have all these little things. None of those would include investing, because when you're young, you still have so many financial hurdles to overcome, in my opinion. And if you overcome those with success, it's easy to make up everything else. It's easy to invest later. My investment gains happened from age 37 to 39. My financial downfalls happened well before that. So you've already overcome those. So I guess the short-winded answer is I keep mine in a money market account. I like Capital One. I know that there's probably some other banks out there where you can separate many accounts under one login. But when you go to Capital One, it's like add new account. And you like add new account. It says, is this information you? You say yes. And then you can name it whatever you want. You can transfer money from your checking account in and out. I like that method. Don't think that you're losing on potential gains by saving money for future expenses. Definitely don't think that you're losing on financial gains by setting up an emergency fund, even if it is losing money to interest and this, that, and the other thing. Because one day, Frank, you're going to get screwed over on something. You're going to need money. You're going to make a bad deal and you're going to need a couple grand.
So true.
The AC is going to blow out and you're going to need a couple grand. And, you know, the roof is going to leak and you're going to need to call a guy. And your 2-year-old daughter is going to shove something down the toilet and you're going to have to call a plumber on a Sunday and pay him 10x, which you should have paid him the next day. So it's like, those are things you don't foresee. So have a couple dollars in a savings account, quote, losing money to inflation for the day that your daughter shoves a frozen figurine down the toilet and then you flush one ply toilet paper on top of it.
The one ply makes its entrance again. No, Brad, you pretty much nailed it. There are a couple things that I would maybe add to it, but also there is something that I do different. And I knew you were going to bring it up. That's why I mentioned at the beginning of the episode was you have Brad's kind of like a sinking funds kind of guy. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm more of I have one account and that's where I keep all of my cash. It's just all in one spot. And I know that if I have an expense of a wedding, or if I need to go buy my wife a new car, or if we have a down payment on a rental property, I can go to this place where I have my cash sitting. I pull it out of the account and then I use it for whatever it's for. The only reason I think I do that is because I'm more of like a less is more type person. And if I have like 5 or 6 different accounts in Capital One, I use Capital One as well, by the way. And that may stress me out a little bit. I already have enough Vanguard accounts as it is that I get stressed every time I log into the damn thing. I'm like, why can't I just, reduce these down? But it's all for different stuff. That's kind of where I stand on the sinking funds and that aspect. But as far when it comes to, you're losing money from your cash sitting in a savings account, I'm pretty much going to have to agree with what Brad said on that. He pretty much nailed it. If I could add one major thing to that is I would maybe give it a time frame. Give it a time frame of, you mentioned you're younger, you're 19, you have a smaller income. How long will it take you to save up for that car? How long will it take you to save up for that down payment on the house? If we're talking a 5, 6, 7 year timeline here, then yeah, you probably should be investing that money. But if we're talking a 2-year time span, it may be worth setting that cash aside because of what Brad said that happened in the short term. Anything could happen in the market. And I hate to say this, guys, because I know a lot of people out there probably believe it, but stocks don't always go up.
Stonks.
We are going to have a correction in the market. And I would hate for someone to have their down payment on their house invested in the market. We have a correction of an way overvalued market, in my opinion. And then we don't see another bull market for 3, 4, 5 years. That's the down part.
You're not worried about, we're not saying stock market crash 2021. How's it? We're saying like there's going to be the stock market goes up and down. And for a long-term investor, we don't care, which is why we can invest money. But for a short-term investor, the shorter term that you need that money back, the more risk there is. There's so many things that affect the market on a daily basis, but you make a good point. For me, if I put in 30 grand and in a month we have a 30% correction, it might take a couple years for that to get even back to zero. But I don't need that money for a very, very long time. If you are banking on needing that money tomorrow and tomorrow there's a dip, how long is it going to be till you can get that money back out?
Exactly. I mean, that's my main point on that I would think about is how long do you need the money? Like, is it going to be something relatively quick? If it is within like a year or two, I would say keep it in your savings account and just build it up. And it's nice too because it's liquid. It's right there. If you find a banger deal on a house and you have to have a down payment, which usually you wouldn't, you get, 30, 60 days to close or whatever. But for a real estate investment, let's say you find a duplex and you want a house hack and you have to beat out the next guy and you got to have your cash within like 7 days for a down payment, whatever it may be, then you can get it there from your Capital One account. You just pull it out, get the cashier's check, and boom, you're ready to go. So, I mean, little things like that is what to think about. But I will say this too, Frank. I did this too when I was maybe not your age, probably around 23, 24 is when I really got into like thinking about this stuff. But don't get too stressed out about like every single dollar has got to be invested. If I'm not investing, I'm losing money. For one, you're so freaking young, dude. Like the fact that you even asked that question already tells yourself you're going to be so much farther ahead. Don't stress too much about it. I say the same thing with like taxes. Like so many people are so scared to do certain things with their money because they're worried about the tax implication. When Brad and we agree on this 100%. If a stranger comes up to you on the street and they hold out 5 $20 bills and they say, I'm going to keep one of these $20 bills, you're still going to take the 4 20s. Would you not?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to pay those taxes because I earn more money, baby. Let's go. Why would you not do that?
Gotta eat.
So, that's right. So, I mean, really, it boils down to is, Frank, don't get too stressed. Brad and I are both believers of like money markets, and whether you want to set that up to be many different savings accounts for sinking funds, or you want to kind of have it all in one account for just a simplicity purpose of it, then so be it. But I mean, really, I think that answers it. Brad, you got anything else you want to add to that?
Just remember, guys, regardless, and ladies, when I say guys, I mean both. Talking about or saving money in a savings account is not cool. It's boring. It's not going to get ladies. It's not going to get... If you're a beautiful young woman and you walk up and you're like, let me tell you about my Capital One savings account. Yeah, maybe that's not going to be the coolest thing ever, but forget about them. You're set. You know, don't worry about that. Like, you can talk options trades later on. Have that foundation. We've talked about this before the podcast, and we'll talk about it over and over again. Have that foundation. And there's nothing cool and sexy about a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And there's nothing cool and sexy about taking 42% of your income and saving it on the side and knowing that it's losing because you have to pay taxes on it one day. Frank, I can't wait to hear when you're a millionaire, bud. And I can't, like I said, multi, because I can't even come close to imagining, like JJ said, mentioning these issues, these problems that you have at 19. How this is back to our Dave Ramsey episode. How am I ever going to figure out what to do with all this money now that I'm debt free? Frank, get out of college, man, with no debt, if possible. That's your number one focus. Then think about if you want to settle down, buy a house, start a family one day. That's your next focus. Then invest. That's
such a good point. I didn't even think about college. She's 19. You need to focus on getting through college debt free if you do plan on going to school. I think that is a very, very good point you make, Brad. Completely just like missed my mind. I didn't even think about that. If you are going to college, try to go through it debt free. That should be your number one focus as a college student. So, Brad, I mean, dude, I think we don't have much to add on that one. I mean, it was Frank. I do want to say first, thank you so much for the voicemail, for the question. Again, guys, if you guys want to get featured here on Average Money, leave us a question down below in the show notes. Also, there is links in the Discord as well. But Frank, I hope that answered your question, buddy. Let us know because I know he's in the Discord. So let us know your thoughts. And I like to hear other people's thoughts on this too. So if you guys want to join in on the conversation, you can join the Discord. There is a link. You can sign up through Patreon, help support the channel. You get some bonus features with early access to episodes and whatnot. And you get the chance to talk to Brad and I over on the Discord as well. But guys, again, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to our episode. This whatever the hell we got going on here. It's something.
What are we doing?
It's a freaking mess.
What day is today?
Who knows?
3, 2, 1, JJ. What's the day of the month?
I have no idea.
It's the 9th. Something like the 10th.
Okay, yeah.
It's the 10th. Well, actually, I think right now it's the 10th Eastern time. It's still the 9th in Central.
In 2 minutes, it'll be the 9th. It'll be the 10th. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. And until the next Friday episode, you guys take care.